All right, what is good? What is happening? How is everybody doing today? My name is Chuck. Welcome back to a brand new video. So today I'll give you guys an updated 10 best class setups for you guys to use here in Warzone. The Season 4 update did come out and they changed a whole bunch of stuff with a lot of weapons. So we're going to be covering a lot more of those weapons specifically and giving you guys some pretty awesome setups so you guys can utilize some new weapons in Warzone. And before any farther into the video, if you guys would like me to gift you the brand new battle pass, make sure you guys drop a like on this video and also make sure you guys hit that subscribe button with all notifications turned on. You guys, we're on the road to 800,000 subscribers and it'd be amazing if you join the squad. Okay, so jumping into this here, the first thing we're going to be taking a look at is the Krig 6. So this is going to be my Krig loadout that I'm going to be running. The first thing I do happen to have on here is the agency suppressor for the Krig. This is definitely going to be the best attachment you can run because this is a primary AR. It's not like we're trying to run this as like an SMG where we'd use the regular suppressor because that really just doesn't make much sense. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to use the Ranger barrel here, though this kind of did get a bit of like a weird like buff slash nerf for some of the different guns. This is still going to be the best one for you guys to use here on the Krig 6. So I definitely go ahead and recommend you guys to use that. Next up in the underbarrel section, we're using the field agent grip for that vertical and horizontal recoil control. I definitely think this is by far the best option. It still is even after the update. Next up in the ammunition, what we're using is the 60 round magazine for that increased ammo capacity. There's no reason to slow ourselves down by using the fast mag. The 60 round regular magazine is perfectly fine for this. And to finish off this whole build, we're using the Axle arms 3 times because this is going to be a banger of a primary AR loadout. You guys should definitely go ahead and use this one. Really big fan of the Krig 6, and it's only going to get probably better throughout like Season 4. Honestly, this is probably like the most meta AR after the patch notes update. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at the Bullfrog. So this is going to be my setup here for the Bullfrog. First thing we have is the sound suppressor. Of course, we use this because this is like the suppressor that is more or less dictated as being a close quarters suppressor. So that's why we're going to go ahead and use the sound suppressor on this gun. Next up in the barrel section, we're using the Task Force because this is going to be the best barrel for the Bullfrog. Even after some of the different updates, they did mess with the Task Force a little bit in some of the different other barrels, but this is still going to be the best one here for the Bullfrog in my opinion, so I would definitely recommend you guys go ahead and run that. Next up in the laser section, we're going to be using the Tiger Team Spotlight here for that increased movement speed and aim walking movement speed. This is going to help keep you guys very, very agile, and of course that is really good because you're using the Bullfrog in close quarter situations, so the more agile you are, the better. Next, in the underbarrel section, we're using the Bruiser grip, and this is going to give us increased movement speed and hipfire accuracy, which obviously, you know, things we want if we're trying to create a close quarters build gun. And last but definitely not least, we're into the stock section. We're using the KGB skeletal stock for that ADS firing movement speed, aim walking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. Overall, a banger setup. Probably one of my favorite guns to use here in Warzone entirely. I absolutely love the Bullfrog, so definitely go ahead and give this a shot. Next up, we're going to be taking a look at the Milano. This is one of the guns that actually did get buffed here, so this is going to be kind of more or less my recommended build for you guys to go ahead and run. First thing on here, we're using the sound suppressor because obviously this is a close quarters gun, so we want to be able to make sure that we have our sound suppressor on there to aid us in that close quarters combat. And then next up in the barrel section, I currently have the reinforced heavy on here because I don't have the task force barrel unlocked. When you guys do happen to have the task force barrel, I just haven't used this gun that much because it really hasn't been viable in Warzone, literally up until the update just came out. So I'd recommend running the reinforced heavy until you get the task force barrel, but once you get the task force, go ahead and run that exclusively. Next in the laser section, we're going to be using the Tiger Team Spotlight here for that increased movement speed, aim walking movement speed, kind of like how we did on the Bullfrog. So that is definitely a really solid option right there. Then in the underbarrel section, much like the Bullfrog as well, we're going to use the Bruiser grip for that movement speed and hipfire accuracy. If you guys really want to, you could throw the field agent grip on there, and that's going to be perfectly fine as well. It just kind of depends on how you feel like the recoil is. It's not too bad, the Milano, but honestly, I mean, it just kind of comes down to personal preference here, and this is mine to run the Bruiser on there. And then for the ammunition, what we're using is the Snag 55 round drum, and this is going to finish off our our Milano build here. And this hopefully should be a pretty solid weapon to use. Maybe a Milano and Krig meta could be upon us based on the patch notes. You guys definitely should give this a shot. Now taking a look at another gun that actually got buffed, which was the Groza. This was kind of underperforming, as they said in the patch notes, so this is going to be my build here for it. First thing is first, we're in the Groza suppressor, and this is going to give us a bunch of different benefits here. Sound suppression, vertical recoil control, bullet velocity, effective damage range. We're trying to make this gun as effective as possible, so you guys could probably run this more or less as like a sniper support or something like that. You probably don't want to run this as like an SMG or like a secondary, but a sniper support would be really awesome for this thing, so that's why I'd recommend running the GRU. But if you're trying to run this as an SMG, throw on the regular suppressor and kind of call it a day at that. Next in the barrel section, we're using the VDV Reinforce, as this has got a lot of benefits right here for that bullet velocity, horizontal recoil control, effective damage range, and vertical recoil control. This is a banger of a barrel, and so you guys should definitely go ahead and try this out, though you are going to lose a little bit of stuff here in the cons, which actually does have quite a bit. But that's entirely okay because this, barrel and the regular suppressor or the, GRU suppressor will definitely make up for any of that stuff right there. Next, in the underbarrel section, we use the Spetsnaz speed grip here for that horizontal and vertical recoil control. We're trying to, make this gun as accurate as possible. And then in the ammunition side of things, we're using the Spetsnaz 60-round drum. Of course, that increased ammo capacity without slowing us down too much. And last but definitely not least, because I don't really like the iron sights on the Groza, that's why I'd recommend running the Microflex LED. But if you do happen to like the iron sights on this gun, then I'd probably go ahead and swap this out for maybe something like a Spetsnaz PKM stock or the KGB skeletal stock, as I just don't have that unlocked yet, because this thing was not really viable in Warzone up until like maybe one patch, like maybe like for like a week or something like that. But definitely go ahead and run either Spetsnaz PKM, the KGB skeletal, or throw on like a Microflex LED, and you guys should be good. This is a banger setup here. Hope you guys enjoyed this one. The Groza could be a awesome gun to use. Of course, we have to dive into the AMAX. The AMAX actually did get nerfed, but it was kind of very minor. They decreased the damage for chest shots or whatever it was from like 1.2 to 1.1. So it's realistically not going to make that much of a difference. So we can basically run a pretty classic setup here with the monolithic suppressor as our first attachment, because that's obviously going to be the best attachment in the most category for all the Modern Warfare weapons. The barrel section, the Zodiac barrel, damage range, bullet velocity, recoil control. Don't have to spend too much time on this here because we all know pretty much an AMAX build by now. In the underbarrel section, the Commando foregrip. If you really want to, you can run something like maybe like the Merc or the Ranger, but I wouldn't really suggest doing either of those things, as that's going to slow down your gun a little bit too much. So I'd recommend just running the Commando. For the ammunition, obviously the 45 round magazine. This is the biggest ammunition we have, or ammunition magazine thing we have. So I'd definitely just say to go ahead and do that. And to finish off this whole thing, we're using the VLK 3x optic. You guys could potentially swap this out for maybe like a GI Mini Reflex, a Corp Comet Hollow Sight, something else like that if you're playing Rebirth, don't want as much magnification, much zoom. But this is an amazing primary AR still, even after a few nerfs now. So I just go ahead and give this a shot still. It's still a banger gun. Now we're going to take a look here at the LC10. So the LC10 is one of my personal favorite SMGs besides the Bullfrog. So let's jump into this. First thing, sound suppressor. Obviously, this is an SMG, so we're going to be rocking with that. I would say, I love the LC10. Love it. So definitely go ahead and use this on there. It's a amazing attachment. Next up in the barrel section, the Task Force barrel. Effective damage range, bullet velocity, strafe speed. You guys kind of know the drill. And then in the laser section, that Tiger Team Spotlight is going to do you a lot of justice. You guys could definitely go ahead and run this. If you don't want to run the Tiger Team, you could potentially swap it out for like a rear grip of some sort that's going to increase your ADS speed. But I've really been trying this out ever since I made the Mutex 61 kill world record, and I really genuinely like the Tiger Team Spotlight. I think it's a pretty solid attachment, so that's why I've been using it a lot more. Next, in the ammunition, we're in the Stenag 55-round magazine, though I should say that what I've actually had some pretty good luck with here is when I play Rebirth is run the Salvo 52-round fast mag, just because I feel like I get into so many engagements with people that having that 52-round fast mag is definitely a worthwhile option as well. So it just kind of depends. You're playing for Verdansk or Rebirth. This is for Verdansk, and this would be for Rebirth, so it's just kind of up to you guys. And last, definitely not least, we're going to be using the Raider stock here for the ADS firing move speed, aim locking movement speed, and sprint to fire time. Love the LC10, definitely a top tier SMG, probably one of the top 3 in Warzone in my opinion, so definitely go and give this build a shot. Now jumping in also to a gun that did get buffed, we covered the Bullfrog, now we have to kind of cover its other counterpart, which is in Modern Warfare, the PP19 Bison. I've never really found the PP19 to be really useful, but because it did get buffed, now it's going to be viable. So now we have, of course, the monolithic suppressor as our first attachment, so you guys should go ahead and throw that on there. In the barrel section, the 8.7 steel barrel, the first one you happen to get, because this is going to give us the maximum damage range, bullet velocity, and of course recoil control. Absolutely love that. As by far the thing I always run even in multiplayer anyways. And for the laser section, we're running the 5MW laser to increase our hipfire accuracy and our sprint to fire speed. This is going to be a close quarters weapon, so of course we want to be able to have the best of that as possible. And then for the ammunition, we can skip that. That's why we go down to the rear grip here. And then for the rear grip section, we're throwing on the stipple grip tape here for that aim down sight speed and sprint to fire speed. Overall, stipple, it's an amazing attachment on basically every single gun in the game. And then last but not least, the Corvus custom skeleton stock for the aim walking movement speed and aim down sight speed. I think I threw in an extra thing in there, the Corvus skeleton stock. That's all it is, not custom. Or you could definitely run maybe the no stock if you really want to, but either or, it's basically going to be pretty awesome. So definitely go ahead and give this a shot. This should be a lot more viable now. I'm not saying it's going to be super top tier, but it's definitely a really solid gun to go ahead and give a shot after the update, considering we haven't been able to use this pretty much in Warzone almost ever. Now let's actually get into another SMG that I really like, which is the PPSH 41. The PPSH is amazing, so let's actually get into this one here. So this is a personal favorite build of mine with that sound suppressor on there. Of course, this is an SMG. Like I said, we're always throwing on that sound suppressor whenever possible. In the barrel section, that task force, this is by far the best barrel for the PPSH. There's kind of really no ifs, ands, or buts about it. I would always just recommend running the task force. This is going to make you the most effective at pretty much all ranges. And we're actually going to go down here to the underbarrel. Because the PPSH has a decent bit of recoil, we're trying to mitigate that with that Spetsnaz grip, that vertical and horizontal. Some people like to run it without, but I feel like probably, even if it has a decent bit of recoil on PC, and PC speaking, usually it looks like it has less recoil with the high FOV. It's going to have more on console, so that's why I'm just going to say to run the Spetsnaz, and that's going to help you guys out quite a bit. For the ammunition, you guys can run the 55 round drum. I think that's really, really awesome. Or you could even go as far as maybe to run the VDV 50 round fast mag. This is something I would choose if I was playing Rebirth, which I have been a lot more recently. So I would say to throw that on if you're playing Rebirth, but the 55 round drum is going to be perfectly fine if you're playing regular Verdansk. And that's just pretty much that. Lastly, but definitely not least, we're going to go into the stock section for that Raider stock, ADS fire move speed, aim walking movement speed, sprint to fire time. Of course, another banger setup here for the PPSH. One you guys have to try. This gun didn't get touched, buffed, or nerfed, and it's always still going to be an amazing top tier gun. Getting down to our last couple guns here, we have now the XM4. This is kind of like a sniper support secondary type of build. So let's jump into this. First, we have the suppressor on here, the regular suppressor, not the agency, because this is a sniper support slash secondary type of build. So it's either running 2 ARs or you're running obviously this with a sniper. So you could definitely, I guess if you're running this with a sniper, throw on the agency, but if you're running this as like a secondary, true secondary, throw on the regular suppressor. It's just kind of one of those things you guys have to try out. Next up in the barrel section, run that task force, bullet velocity, horizontal recoil control, effective damage range, and vertical recoil control. I don't think this did that much before the update. I think this only gave us 3 pros instead of 4, but now we do happen to have, of course, some negatives with this as well, but that's entirely okay. Next up in the ammunition, we have the 60 round magazine. You guys could definitely potentially run it with the 45 if you want to be a little bit more agile. But for me, I like running 60 as I think that is indeed the best. I'm a 60 round magazine kind of guy, so that's just me. Next up in the Microflex LED, because I don't really like the iron sights all that much, and I just want to be able to see people as clear as possible. I think they're a little bit intrusive, and I'm not the biggest fan of them, so that's why I run the Microflex. And then finish this whole thing off, we have the Raider pad, ADS firing move speed, aim walking move speed, and sprint to fire time. Like I said, a banger gun, a banger build. You guys definitely should go and give this a try here in Season 4. And this is also a new variant that is in the Battle Pass, so it's extra. It's kind of like a little cherry on top. And to finish off this video, we're going to be using the MP5, the Cold War MP5, because this thing has a crazy, crazy fast time to kill, and this is a solid build right here. So first thing, sound suppressor, of course. Not going to get into that. Next up, we have the field agent grip, because we want to be able to control this recoil. This gun has a decent bit of it, so we want to be able to be as accurate as possible. This is kind of reasonable, so I'd recommend run the field agent. Next up, we're actually skipping the barrel section, going straight to the Tiger Team Spotlight here for the aim walking movement speed and movement speed. This is a really, really clutch thing to do, especially on this variant, because if we skip the barrel section, we get to keep those really nice iron sights that come in some of the different variants, which are a lot clearer than the base iron sights. So that's the reason we're also skipping the barrel as well. Down into the ammunition, we're running the Stenag 50 round drum. This is just pretty much like standard. I mean, I guess you could run the Salva 50 round fast mag if you're playing Rebirth. Definitely done that. I think it's justifiable. But regular Verdansk, you don't really need that, so just run this and you'll entirely be okay. And then finish off this thing, of course, the Raider stock, and you guys know what the Raider stock happens to do. So this is an amazing MP5 build. Hope you guys enjoyed this top 10, because this is a really, really interesting update here for Season 4, and I'm super excited to see the meta shift once again. If you guys enjoyed this video, go ahead and give it a like, subscribe if you are brand new, turn on those post notifications, and just remember, Triple Cap, don't be Randy, and I'm out. Peace.